Thank you for joining us here at the North Bay Science Discovery Day. This is a session presented by the Sonoma County Radio Amateurs. Fred and Bill will be presenting today. Just as a reminder, we're recording the session, so you are welcome to keep yourself muted and your video off, or you can share your video and ask some questions via the audio here, or type into the chat pod if you have questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Fred.
Okay, let's roll. And here, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm sharing a screen here. Hello, I'm Fred Seitel. I'm president of the Sonoma County Radio Amateurs. I'm a radio operator, amateur radio operator, and I have a call sign, which is my license. It's AE6SF. So we'd like to welcome you to our demonstration. Another person helping with this is Bill Dornbush, AA6BD. He and his driver will be driving around in a vehicle, demonstrating, reporting their position automatically using amateur radio. So Sonoma County Amateur Radio, Sonoma County Radio Amateurs is a club in Sonoma County of radio operators. We're about 200 strong, and you can visit our website, sonomacountyradioamateurs.com, to learn about getting licensed to be a ham if you are so inclined. All right. So with that, today, you know, ham radio is a voluntary radio service. It's a hobby, and it's lots of fun, and there are many things you can do, and we're going to demonstrate just one of the many things, and that's called the Automatic Packet Reporting System, or APRS. So with ham radio, you know, we can do other things like communicate with other hams around the world without using the internet or cell phones. If you like, you can communicate using Morse code, although it's not required, but it's fun to do. Or if you don't want to use your voice, we have digital apps where you can type on a keyboard and send text type messages over the air without the use of cell phones or the internet. And that can be very useful during a disaster such as wildfires, when power systems go down and cell towers burn down, that amateur radio can still work. So with APRS, what APRS does is transmits where a person or vehicle is, so that others can track your progress on a map. And the map can either be sourced on the internet, or using a radio, you can grab position reports over the air directly without using the internet and have it automatically plot on a map. But we can do other things with APRS as well. We can send and receive short messages. So because the APRS system uses ham radios, one radio will transmit and one radio will receive. And when I say radio, I'm not talking AM radios. I'm talking, typically I'm talking a ham transceiver, which is a combination of a transmitter and a receiver. I have, well, let me move on here. So for our demonstration, there'll be a transmitting radio in a car, and then the receiving radio is going to be at my house, but it could be anywhere. It could be in Sebastopol, it could be out on a mountain, it could be up on Fountain Grove, and it depends on who can hear the transmission as to what radio will pass on the APRS transmission. So today, let me slow down. today we will demonstrate showing the transmitter's position on a map, showing the transmitter's route on a map, sending a message from one ham radio to another ham radio with no internet or cell phone involved. And the other thing we can do is, using a radio, we can send a message into the cell phone network and have it show up on a cell phone. Okay, so I am going to pull up a map here. Hi, everybody. And actually, what I'm doing is I'm pulling up that's not it. Let's try a different one. What I'm really doing is pulling up a web browser. Here we go. And I have gone to a website that is called APRS.fi. If I put in APRS.fi, this is what comes up. And it happens to have already figured out that I'm located somewhere in the Santa Rosa area. And so what we have here is a map. I'll zoom out a little bit. And perhaps you can see down here near the lower half of San Francisco, we got the Bay Area. I'll zoom in a bit. There's, I'm following along. Yeah, Bay Area. Now this map is loaded with symbols. There are a lot of things called WX. Those are weather stations that are reporting every now and then. They will send out a message saying what the weather is. And they show up on this map. So today we're not really interested in weather stations. So I'm going to filter them out. See if this works here. Weather stations. And let's go back to that. Did I get rid of them? Not that time. Weather stations. I do not weather stations. Okay, I turn this off. And they're gone. And I can turn on things I want to see with no weather stations. Okay, so what we have here is Bill AA6BD has an APRS capable ham radio in his car, and he is now moving. And here on this map, which I pulled up on the internet, shows his position. Appears he's on 4th Street. Let me get back to my screen. In just a moment here, I'm going to zoom out and point out there are other things that are reported on this system. If you go down to the bay, we also see boats down here. So boats are reporting their position. All right. Now, an easy way to, if you want to follow just one person, in this case, Bill, and I'm good with that, we can just put in his call sign here, AA6D, and his suffix -9, search, and I found him. And now we are tracking him. He's the only one showing up on this map. So, okay. So we can see Bill's route on the map. If you hover over the car here and click on it, an information window pops up that shows what information he beaconed out at that exact point and when he did it. So it's got the date and the time in 24-hour format. It says he's going 22 miles per hour at a direction of 87 degrees, which is almost due east. Also reports his altitude of 96 feet. And then it's got some other information. So an APRS capable transmitter has a GPS receiver in it. And so it knows where it is based on GPS reception. And that's what it beacons out either periodically, or if it uses smart beaconing, only when he makes a turn and gets off a steady course. All right. Talking, we've got Bill out there. So Bill is driving. Bill, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Would you like to demonstrate sending a message to me?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to hold up to the screen here a little handheld radio I have. This is also APRS capable. It can receive position reports from Bill's radio directly, and it can also receive a message. So he knows what my call sign is, AE6SF, and for this radio it's -7. So he is going to send me a message over the air without using the internet or cell phones, and we'll see if it works. And now we wait. Oh, I heard something. So we get the volume up here. All right, we're waiting.
Okay, I sent it. We'll have to see how we get a little closer to you. It might pick up better.
Okay. Well, it's not here yet. All right. So in the meantime, what I want to do is I'm going to switch to an example of APRS that I caught from a trip that one of the members of our club took. Let's see here. Now that we're back to Bill. Stand by. Oh, hey. Yeah. Bill is showing us video, actually. Okay. We'll do this.
Explain this here.
Can I make this bigger? So we have a member of our club, Charlie, KZ6T, who likes to go four-wheel driving. He took a little trip out to Canyonlands in Nevada. He head out to Moab, and so just quickly, this data that's pumped out is public information, and it's kept for 2 years. You can go back in and see where you were, and that's what I'm doing here. So Charlie was in this vehicle, KZ6T, and when he started out his route. Next page. Can I kill this up here? Yeah, let me close that out. All right, here he's heading across Nevada. Each one of these little red dots here is a position report. It's when his vehicle or his transmitter in his vehicle beaconed out his position. You can click on any red dot and this information screen shows up. Here he was doing 68 miles an hour through Nevada. And you can see it traced out his route, and over here, that probably doesn't mean much to you. Unless I were to annotate.
Road turns.
Spotlight. There, maybe you can see my cursor now. Over here is Canyonlands National Park. I'll get through it quickly. And it looks like he went to the Maze Overlook Campground first night. You can switch to satellite view on the same map. And if you zoom in, you see, okay, there's the Maze Overlook Campground. That's where he camped. Move on. Zoom in even further. You can even see a car and a tent from when the satellite or aerial view was taken. The next day, this is off-road. He was a very technical drive. He averaged 4 to 8 miles an hour on it. And then he ended up, here's another thing too. These paths here that are highlighted show the route that the radio message took. So there was a thing called a digipeater up here that heard the radio, and then it repeated and went on down. Can I see it? Nope. I need to zoom out here. So there's no cell phone coverage in Canyonlands, and yet there's a ham radio that can hear his transmitter from his vehicle. And when it hears that package of information, it then retransmits it to a larger area. And then down here is a thing called an iGate that heard it. It's a radio, and then it pumped the information onto the internet. So let's finish up here. And there's his next campsite. Not that important at this point. And weather stations. So we're done with that. Screen
There
here.
were a couple of questions for you.
Let me get back to Bill here. So Bill, let's see here. Yes, we're looking for a Bill. You want to send me a message?
Okay.
Let's see, where is Bill? Let's share that screen. Heard that. Heard that too. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. And I can see here, it says message on the message list, something from AA6BD-9. And I'm going to display the message. And what does it say? Whoops. What happened here?
It's working.
Oh, there I am. Okay. Everybody see what the message says? It says, "Hi, Fred." That's my name. Woohoo! So I could go ahead and reply and send a message back. So this message was received directly, did not use cell phones, did not use the internet. There's something else we can do. And that is, Bill, do you want to send a message to my cell phone?
Sure.
All right, now, just got to take my word for it. He's going to use his ham radio to send a message. Instead of to my radio, he's going to send it to my cell phone. And wait for that to come in. In the meantime, it looks to me like Bill is located on Middle Rincon Road in Santa Rosa. Okay, that's a notification. The message has come in. It's right here. And the message is from AA6BD-9. How is this session going for you? So that came in on my cell phone. So now I cannot send a message back to him from my cell phone because to transmit on amateur radio frequency or bands, you have to have an amateur radio license. So a person with a cell phone can't just transmit on the bands. You're going to have a transmitter to do that, and you need to get a license. Okay. We have demonstrated that. So, Bill, let's stop sharing here.
You already stopped, Fred. I'm just
Oh,
looking
I
at
am.
you.
I am stopped, am I not?
You are.
Thank you very much. All right, so I see on Bill's screen, I see Bill's, but nobody else sees it. So can I pin Bill's screen?
Yeah, how do I do that? If I talk, does it show up? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, that does it.
Okay, you're seeing it now? There it is. Okay. I'm on Middle Rincon Road right now, sitting at the curb.
Okay, he's on Middle Rincon Road, and I bring the map back up, which is this one, right? Okay. And there he is. This is high. Here, let me turn on annotation again. So this is Highway 12 along here. And then he went north on Middle Rincon, and he is stationary there. Now, when I hover over it, this line shows up, which shows the path over to down on the lower left where there's an I, K6YIL-1, which is down here. That's on a hill. There's a radio receiver, license number K6YIL, and it heard Bill's transmission. And this is an iGate, and that pumped information onto the internet, which then showed up on this map. Okay, I think Bill, we've hit the main points here.
Right.
Okay, so let's recap what we've done. We've shown where Bill is on a map, Bill's vehicle. We've sent messages just using ham radios with no internet or cell phone. And then we also sent a text to a cell phone from a ham radio. And we could just as easily send that message to an email address. So if you're out somewhere where there's no cell phone reception, it's possible with ham radio to get a message out, which could be important in an emergency. Now, I hope you found this demonstration interesting.
Fred, there are some questions in the chat. You can look
Excellent.
at chat.
We got questions. First, I'm going to share this back up here. Any type of question. Okay, so there's a question here. Can you track people without a radio? The answer is no. And not using amateur radio. The whole thing is based on having a radio that transmits your position. Now there are specialized APRS transmitters that provide tracking, so you don't have to have a general purpose radio. You can get a specialized one if you want to do that. But you do need whoever has owns the transmitter has to have a license, and there are communication identification rules where at least every 10 minutes and at end of transmission you identify the station. So in each one of these packets of information that are beaconed out, there is the call sign of the transmitter in there, the licensee. Okay, there's a question. Can we use a phone? My understanding is the answer to that is yes. And maybe Bill knows this. It's not clear to me whether you need an amateur radio license or not. But a cell phone, all cell phones generally have a GPS receiver in them. They're positional aware. And there is an app that lets you transmit information into the same data stream that then shows up on maps like APRS.fi. But
Fred?
you will need cell phone coverage in order for that to work. So Bill, can you answer the question?
Yes, you still do need a license. The app, I'm using an app right now on my phone, although I'm not using the internet, but the app is connected right into my radio through Bluetooth. But I do have to have a license in order for them. The person who manages the app will not give you access to the app unless you can demonstrate that you have a license.
Okay, thank you, Bill. So yes, you need a license, but you may use a cell phone, but you still need a license. Okay, are there other questions? If you're interested in, ham radio, if you're interested in ham radio, you can certainly visit our website, SonomaCountyRadioAmateurs.com, and there's information there on getting started. You can contact me as president at SonomaCountyRadioAmateurs.com. I'll just mention some of the other things that we can do in amateur radio. We can talk around the world, we put it that way, from one radio to another radio without using the internet or cell phones. And the way that happens is we transmit radio waves and they skip off the ionosphere and bounce back down to the earth far away. And so you can do that, communicate one radio to another.
Fred, you have a question from Ratria?
Go ahead.
Has her hand up?
You said like there's the thing where you use to talk, like message. Can you like voice record and send?
I missed the last question. Can I what?
Like, can you voice record instead of like typing it down?
I think she asked if you can send a voice recording in addition or in contrast to just a message, just a typed message.
That's a very good question. Very astute. In the APRS system, I think the answer is no. It's basically like a text messaging system. We do have other digital formats though, where you can transmit, well, we can certainly transmit voice. Bill, do you want to take this one?
Well, I guess I would say that APRS is, as you said, not the way, but hey, we talk all the time on the radio. So sure, you can talk, you can talk to somebody else. I've talked to people in other countries without any problem through what you were talking about with bouncing a signal off the ionosphere. Or if you use one of the digital repeaters, you can talk to someone through voice signals that sound better than what's on your cell phone.
So here's a question. Was the question, can you use your voice? Or is it, can you make a recording of your voice and then transmit that recording?
Can you repeat the first one again?
I'm sorry, I got some background noise here. Could you say that again?
Could you repeat what you said for the first one again?
I'm having trouble hearing. Does someone else have?
She asked you to repeat your question.
Oh, well, I'll keep it simple. I wanted to know if your question is, can we use voice on radio? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes. Voice is the primary and the original means by which we used amateur radio. Here, we can demonstrate this, I think. Let me stop screen sharing here. And I'm going to go back. This little handheld radio I have here, this is capable of doing voice in real time. And I'm going to pull up, I'm going to pull up, let's see, I think her channel, I'm going to pull up a repeater channel, 3 and 5, that Bill is listening to. So Bill, are you ready for me to call you on the radio?
I am. In fact, I'm talking on the radio right now.
Okay, I can hear you. All right, so I'm going to call Bill the way an amateur radio operator would call him. AA6BD, this is AE6SF.
AE6SF, this is Bill, AA6BD, responding.
Excellent. Good to hear you, Bill. Hey, thanks for doing the demonstration today.
It was my pleasure. We always like to talk more about what amateur radio is all about. Try to get more people interested in it.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Bill. Talk to you later. This is AE6SF.
This is AA6BD. I'm standing by.
Okay, so that was an example of me communicating with Bill using my radio. And in the days of citizen band radio, they would call that a walkie-talkie. In ham radio, we call it a handheld transceiver, or HT for short. And that's what I used. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it was very cool.
You got that 100% right. It is very cool.
So what does it take to get a license?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. So you study a little bit, you learn some regulations, you learn how, radio waves work and ham radio, some stuff like that. And then you take a 35 question exam. It's multiple choice. There are 4 answers to each question. And you need to get, 72% right. And if you do that, and there's now the FCC is instituting a fee now, $35. And then you can get yourself a license that's good for 10 years. And you can do what I just did, use one of these handheld transceivers and talk on the radio. So there's I'll just mention some other things we do in ham radio. Some real enthusiasts bounce radio signals off the moon and back to the earth. And I'll tell you, it takes some high power and special antennas to do that, but there are people that do that. Some people like to send messages in Morse code. And if you think about it, I mean, Morse code is well known, but very few people actually know it. So if you and your friends learn Morse code, you could send messages back and forth to each other and nobody would be able to understand you, unless maybe they happen to be a ham radio person. Let's see, oftentimes we'll hook up our computers to our radios and communicate digitally. We engage in public service events, like there are a lot of foot races and bicycle races, like Levi's Grand Fondo. It's a major bicycle event here in Sonoma County. We hams go out in various locations at rest stops and provide communications because out in the hilly west area of Sonoma County, you know, cell phones reception is not available. If you like gaming, we have a radio sport, if you call it. Almost every weekend there are contests where you can try to contact as many hams as possible. And each game will have different rules as to how you get points. Sometimes we'll do fox hunting. And that's where a little radio, low power radio is set somewhere where it beacons once in a while. And then you walk around with your handheld radio and a directional antenna and you try to find it by triangulating. On rare occasions, you can talk to an astronaut on the space station. So we say. In theory, we can do this, but you know, the astronauts are busy all the time, so rarely do they talk to individual hams. What they do, though, is there's a program where they will talk to a school, an elementary school, or a high school, or junior high, and there's like a 20-minute window when a bunch of students will each take a turn and ask an astronaut a question, and the astronaut will answer back. So that's pretty cool. Some people use amateur radio to track things like balloons. You can send up a balloon, a high altitude balloon, and put a little radio transmitter on it that has APRS and track it. And some of these balloons will go all the way around the world on the winds and come back and maybe go again. Or you can design one that goes up, and when it gets up high enough, it pops and then parachutes back down, and then you go recover your transmitter. Another aspect of amateur radio is we're into electronics. There's plenty of opportunities to learn how to design and build electronic things if you're into that. And we love computers and Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and so forth. So it's a great hobby, many aspects to it. You don't have to engage in everything. We had one person whose sole purpose of getting an amateur license was so that he could fly his drone, and he had the first person view camera on it. And with an amateur radio license, he could use an amateur radio frequency, which was not crowded, unlike the commercial frequency that everybody else has to use. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do in ham radio. We invite you to take it up when you get a chance.
Fred, I think there are a couple more questions in the chat.
Okay. All right. Cole says, I'm using the ham tracker in Street View and can see the place where you are. That's true. And I'll do a quick demonstration if I pull up the map again. So Bill is here I already told you you could switch to satellite view if you wanted to. That wasn't it. You can. Go back. But the other thing you can do is track in Street View. And so this is showing where he is parked right now. This is from Google Street View. You know, the Google car runs around and takes pictures of all the streets and surroundings. So this is a old picture, but this is what's viewed from the location that Bill's APRS beaconed out. Now we could compare that to Bill's view that he's seeing out his front window. So I'm going to stop sharing. And there's Bill's view out his front window. Bill, say something.
Okay, I'm trying to get my phone off here. There's the fence that you were just showing. Shows where I am. You can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
There's my fence. So there's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Cole. Let's see, Natalie, what do you do daily as a radio operator? Daily, I listen to the radio sometimes. So this is a hobby. Many of us have, daytime jobs. So during the day, we're, doing that, or we're out and about. But some of us install radios in our vehicles so that when we're on the road, we can communicate if we want to. Anyway, so daily, I monitor the airwaves in case a friend wants to talk, or in case there's an emergency message that comes through that I would help handle. Bill, you want to answer this question? What do you do daily as a radio operator?
Sure. One of the things I do is, like right now, I'm in my car, and I have a radio transmitter receiver in my car, and sometimes I will say, hey, this is A6PD. Does anyone want to talk? While I'm driving around, I can chat with other people. The other thing I do is I exchange messages with people using another ham radio application called WinLink, and I can send and receive emails through the radio. And you might say, well, hey, I can do that through an email system, but what happens if the power goes out and I don't have the ability to get into internet? And the answer is I can use my radio to do it.
All right, thank you, Bill. Okay, we've got, let's see, a question here from Kathy. What types of regulations must ham radio operators follow? Well, there are several regulations, and you learn those to get your first license. But a few of them include the types of communications you can do. You cannot conduct business transactions over the air on amateur radio. It's strictly non-commercial radio. There are rules like you need to identify your station every 10 minutes and at the end of your transmission. Rules like you do that in English or in Morse code, your pick. So there are several rules.
Yeah, and you also have to use certain frequencies, and you're restricted to only being able to use those frequency bands that you're licensed for.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. That's a very good point. You can't just transmit on any frequency. The Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, divides up the radio spectrum to different services. So like, FM broadcast stations have a particular band of frequencies they use. Amateur radio service is very, very fortunate in that we have, I think it's 17 different band allocations that we can operate on. anywhere from medium frequency, like 1.8 megahertz, all the way up into the gigahertz range. So they're just small portions of the band of the entire frequency spectrum in different places, but there are about 17 of them. And you'll find that the communication conditions can vary during the day and at night. So if one band isn't very good for propagating radio waves, another band typically is. So it's one of the aspects that makes amateur radio so versatile and able to get through. But yes, you must stay within frequency bands, and then within a band itself, there are regulations like lower portion of the band, you can only do Morse code. The upper portion of the band, you can do voice, things like that. Anyway, they're not too hard to learn. It's a great hobby. We teach classes to help you get your first license. We also give the license exams. So it's pretty cool. I mean, you can come to our, I'm sorry, you should visit our website, SonomaCountyRadioAmateurs.com, to find out more. That's a long name, and you have to learn how to spell amateurs, and it's plural, and it's a pain. Or you can just like Google ham radio Sonoma County, and you'll probably find our website that way. Okay, you have more questions?
Patria has her hand up.
Well, go ahead.
How old do you have to be to like be a ham radio operator?
Yeah, there's a real stringent requirement on this. You have to be 1 day old.
Yes.
So there's no age limit, in other words. 1 day old or older. All right. Yeah, stop sharing here. Gotcha. There we go. We're open for more questions.
Fred, you were talking earlier about what do you do daily. One of the things that I like to participate in are called nets. And a net is just a bunch of people that agreed to get on the air at a certain time on a certain frequency. And I will often get on and talk to, I have a travel trailer. So I'm involved with RVing. And there are a bunch of RVers who are also ham radio operators. And we get on the air between 9 and 10 a.m. in the morning, and we chat for a while and find out what's going on with people. And I talk everywhere from Southern California to Washington State, up and down the West Coast.
Well, that's cool.
Looks like there are a couple other hands up. I can't see who they are.
Yeah, I'm missing that feature on. So Stephen, I don't see hands coming up. So can you let me know when that happens?
Yeah, there's one hand up right now. Go ahead and ask a question. You can unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat pod.
Okay. Is your job really hard, or is it easy?
Well, if you mean my daytime job.
Oh yeah, your daytime job.
I'm in that very fortunate class where I am retired, and I can, in theory, I can do what I want. In practice, I have a really long list of things to do, and it has given me time to be like president of our ham club, which has over 200 people. And there are some duties associated with that that I take care of during the day.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, we could pass that question on to Bill if he likes.
Well, I'm in about the same situation, Fred. I'm retired also. I do things like, one of the things I do is I teach a class for other people in our radio club on how to use a Raspberry Pi and an Arduino. And those are very small, very inexpensive computers that we can dedicate to certain purposes. And we have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah, and Bill also does non-ham related public service stuff, as I understand it, such as he's helping people fill out their tax forms during the tax season, which is
That's right.
highly commendable. That he devotes quite an amount of time to that. So he's giving back to the community as a volunteer doing that. Yeah. Oh, I got a question. Am I the president? Well, I'm not the POTUS, President of the United States. But I am the president of Sonoma County Radio Amateurs Incorporated, which is a ham radio club of people who like ham radio. And you can join our club. You don't have to have a license. The requirement is that you just have an interest in ham radio, and you can be what we call an associate member if you like.
And right now we're meeting by Zoom, but normally we would be meeting once a month. So we get together and are able to talk to each other. And that's where I first learned about a lot of things on ham radio. One of the things I really love about ham radio is that all the other people that are in the hobby really like to share their knowledge with other people. And so if I have a question, I can always find an answer to it.
Okay, we're getting close to the end here.
Okay. Well, thank you both for providing this session today. We really appreciate it. And thank the rest of you for attending this session as part of the North Bay Science Discovery Day. I think you had showed your contact information if people have other questions. And then thank you all for participating. You might be signed up for one or two more sessions later this afternoon. And if so, hope to see you there. All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Stephen.
Okay, thanks. Great interest.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome.